Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Sports Dadcast. I am your host, Bo Bingen, and I want to personally thank you for taking some time to join me in your day. Before we get started, please remember to like this video and subscribe if you are tuning in on YouTube, and subscribe if you're listening on Spotify. All that good stuff helps my stuff grow, so I appreciate your help. Thank you. I was going to do an episode covering the NFC and AFC championship games, but I didn't think that really warranted it. The Eagles and Niners game was not really all that interesting. The Eagles won soundly 31-7 after the two 49ers quarterbacks got injured, and the Niners essentially lost the ability to throw the football, and that game got lopsided really quickly. Now, the Bengals and Chiefs game was absolutely jam-packed with exciting football, but that game has kind of left a sour taste in people's mouths due to some of the officiating decisions. The Chiefs won 23-20, and they felt like the better team in that game. So they're moving on to face the Eagles in the Super Bowl. So that kind of competitive gameplay is what you're going to see in the next decade, I think, in the AFC, because there are a bunch of young, talented quarterbacks, and those guys are going to always give their team a chance to win. So I may or may not put together an episode and talk about the NFL's competitive balance and why so many people believe that the game is quote unquote rigged. But I need to do some more digging and identify why a lot of that mentality is as subjective as the game itself. So that's something to look forward to in the future. Now, if you're looking for some Super Bowl preview, I am going to be on the Amateur Hour podcast early this week and break down the game. We're also going to discuss some of the betting angles to the Super Bowl and throw out our favorite bets and our favorite prop bets for all those individuals out there that like to wager a few of their hard-earned American dollars on the biggest sporting event in the American sporting world every year. So now what I want to talk about today is, I think, the more pressing story, or the bigger story in the NFL as of late, is the retirement of Tom Brady. Now, he says it's for good. I'm in the camp. I believe him. I think that's the case. I think he's done. But I want to specifically talk about why Tom Brady is the NFL's GOAT, the greatest of all time, and why we should stop calling anybody else the GOAT when it pertains to players in the NFL. Now, I hear people get talked about as being football's GOAT all the time, but there really is only one person that's eligible for this discussion in my mind, and that's Tom Brady. Now, the greatest of all time, the title should be reserved for one individual that clearly sets themselves apart from everybody else. So in each sport, they have their own GOAT. Think Wayne Gretzky in the NHL, Serena Williams in tennis, women's college basketball. You think Gino Auriemma. Olympic swimming. You think about Michael Phelps and how dominant he was. People love to call Michael Jordan the GOAT of pro basketball. I'm of the belief that he and LeBron James should share that discussion. But my point is that the majority of these individuals have very little opposition when it comes to debating their success in comparison to their peers. Now, I personally used to despise Tom Brady when I was growing up and learning about football. The Patriots were so dominant. But I eventually came around to the idea that you just have to respect his level of dedication, his toughness, his longevity, and the level of success that he's had in the NFL. So let me make the case for why Tom Brady is the GOAT of NFL football. So let's quickly break down his playing career. Tom Brady drafted by the Patriots, New England Patriots, in the 6th round of the 2000 NFL draft, coming out of Michigan. In his 20 seasons with the Patriots, he was the primary starter in 18 of those seasons. And in those 18 seasons as the primary starter, the Patriots won their division 17 times. 17 times out of 18, they won the AFC East. Now, they went to 13 AFC championship games in those 18 seasons as Tom Brady was the primary starter, went to 9 Super Bowls. Tom Brady also won 3 MVP awards with New England. This in itself is a laughable amount of success and easily a Hall of Fame career, but he wasn't done. So Tom Brady left New England to join the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2020, and where he went to another Super Bowl. So let's look at some of the totals and compare them to his peers. Tom Brady, the most quarterback wins in NFL history, 251 games won, 65 more than the next closest, which is a tie for Brett Favre and Peyton Manning with 186. Most games won. I mean, that kind of says it for itself. Most passing touchdowns, 649 passing touchdowns in his career, 78 more than Drew Brees, who's next closest with 571. Tom Brady, most passing yards in NFL history, 89,214 total passing yards. That's nearly 9,000 more than the next closest, who's also Drew Brees at just over 80,000. In his career, Brady threw 649 touchdowns, 212 interceptions. So that's a TD to interception ratio that's a little over 3. Really impressive. Now, you could make the argument that some of this is sheer longevity, and I would agree, absolutely. But that, I think, strengthens his case. He played an extremely long career, which in itself is a ridiculous feat. The NFL average career is somewhere between 3 and 4 years, and Brady played over 20. Now, some people would say that statistics alone don't make you the GOAT. Just ask Wilt Chamberlain and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. They'll tell you the same thing. So let's talk about championships, because I think that's where it really matters. And we'll start with the playoffs, where the pressure in football really mounts, because the NFL playoffs, if you're not familiar, are one and done. It's a single elimination bracket. So if you lose at any point, try again next year. Only 12 quarterbacks in NFL history have won at least 10 playoff games. Plenty of guys have won playoff games, but only 12 in NFL history have won at least 10 playoff games. 3 guys have 14 wins. That's Terry Bradshaw went 14-5 in the playoffs. John Elway went 14-7, and Peyton Manning went 14-13. So that's the start of, kind of the top of the list there. Joe Montana has the second most playoff wins in NFL history. He went 16-7, so 16 wins being the second most in playoffs. Tom Brady has 35. Tom Brady went 35-13 in the playoffs in his NFL career. That is absolutely outstanding. A ridiculous amount of playoff games won. And you think about all those seasons with New England when they were the 1 seed and got a bye, or the 2 seed and got a bye. So that I mean, even if you want to throw those games as a bye, if you want to throw those in as a technical win because they won so much and got the bye, that they could potentially have a bunch more wins. But let's look at the Super Bowl, because this is where I think Brady really separates himself from his peers, especially from a quarterback standpoint. There are 27 quarterbacks in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and some of them are in there without winning a Super Bowl. Dan Marino, Fran Tarkenton, Jim Kelly, Warren Moon, Dan Fouts, Sonny Jurgensen. These guys played in the Super Bowl era and are quarterbacks that made the Hall of Fame and never won a Super Bowl. There are 6 guys that played quarterback in the NFL but were previous to the Super Bowl era, so we're not gonna touch on those, because football was so different back in the 1940s and 50s that I think it's hard to compare. But none of them had the amount of success that Brady did. So if we're talking about Super Bowls, there's a bunch of quarterbacks in NFL history that have won a Super Bowl, that have 1 win. And that list, I don't think, is nearly as elite. Where you can really get into the elite list of guys is when you talk about guys that have multiple Super Bowl wins. So there are 12 quarterbacks in NFL history that have multiple Super Bowl wins. That list beginning with the guys that have 2. That's Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, Jim Plunkett, Bart Starr, Ben Roethlisberger, Bob Griese, John Elway, and Roger Staubach. Those guys all have 2 Super Bowl wins. Troy Aikman with 3. Joe Montana and Terry Bradshaw have 4, and Tom Brady with 7. 7 Super Bowl wins, 7 rings. He can't even fit them all in one hand. 10 Super Bowl appearances. So he went 7-3 in Super Bowls. Absolutely incredible. 7 Super Bowl wins, 5 Super Bowl MVPs. The next closest NFL player in Super Bowl wins is a linebacker named Charles Haley. He won 5. And there's plenty of guys that won 4 because they were on those Patriot teams or whatever. But 7 Super Bowl wins is absolutely incredible. And it's more than any single NFL organization, believe it or not. The New England Patriots and the Pittsburgh Steelers each have won 6 Super Bowls. Tom Brady himself has 7 rings. So he's got more than any NFL franchise so far to this point, which is absolutely amazing. He was never the most athletic player on the NFL football field. He was never the fastest, never the quickest, could never jump the highest. But his level of toughness his understanding of the game, his ability to play the quarterback position at a level where he could stay calm under pressure and capitalize on any mistake that his opponent made. I think that's what makes him the NFL's greatest of all time. And I think that gives him the GOAT status. Now, I'm not saying that he'll never be topped because I don't know what's to come in the future. We don't know what kind of quarterbacks are coming. Some would say that the quarterbacks are better sooner because of the 7-on-7 football camps and the virtual reps that guys can take. Um, but what I'm saying is that if you are going to replace Tom Brady as the GOAT in NFL football, it's going to take a very special set of circumstances in a league that prides itself on parity, a worst to first mentality, and being the ultimate team sport. It's hard to envision someone winning 7 Super Bowls or 8 Super Bowls to pass Brady, but I would be super excited if that ever was the case and we got someone like that because watching the career would be absolutely incredible. So, as of right now, I am lamenting Tom Brady as the NFL's GOAT. And I'm not really interested in any kind of argument unless you come at me with someone that has won a similar amount of games and Super Bowls. But if we get to that point, I'll be happy to have that discussion. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you very much for joining me on the Sports Dadcast. Remember to like the video and subscribe to get notified when new episodes go live. I will see you all very soon. Thank you.